So, hi all, and welcome to the ProJoules webinar, our very first one. We are quite excited with you all being here. And, of course, a little bit nervous for the first time, but hopefully you will enjoy it. So, first of all, we want to make sure you can hear us. Can you put your thumbs up or something like that? Uh, yes, I see already a thumbs up. That's awesome. Okay, then today, I'm first going to give a small introduction into ProJoules and what the basis is of that, and then show a plan, plan of your cultivation throughout the year. After that, Wim will dive into more specific case studies, where he really shows where some growers could get a lot of benefit from ProJoules. Some other things are, if you have questions, you can ask them at the end. So please send them in the chat or just raise your voice at the end by unmuting and asking your question. And I think that's it. So let's get started. So ProJoules, I don't know how many of you have heard of it, but it has been live now almost 2 years. And ProJoules is a platform, a crop planning platform that's online. And that's pretty convenient because it's online. That means you can access it always. And this crop and registration platform can be used to plan your crops ahead and to see ahead what your energy demand will be. And you can access it at any time. And as already hinted at, you can plan your cultivation or your crops. That means ahead of time, you can see how much additional shading you might need, how much additional lighting you might need, and how many grams your tomatoes should be or could be in certain periods. This will also take into account, for example, if you have a change of stem density throughout the year, what for impact that will have on your plan and your plant balance. But ProJoules does this all with model-based calculations. So we are working together with an awesome team called Ignition Computing, and they have a software engineering background, but they also have a physics and model-based background. So that means that there are a lot of equations on the back end that we use to guarantee that we can approximate how the crop works in the greenhouse as good as possible. This also means that we are not learning from data, but really designing the algorithms and the calculations that we use beforehand. And that leads to the next part, and that's the ownership of data. So in ProJoules, the data is yours and stays yours, and we'll never use them to, for example, extract insights or to automatically adjust some values. It stays with the calculation that we design by hand, and the data is only for you and the people you explicitly share it with. This is a general high-level overview of ProJoules. So now we'll dive a bit deeper into what a ProJoules plan looks like. So for that, we start with some outside lights, just outside here. It can be quite sunny if we look at this graph. This is the energy that we will refer to, but that's joules per day throughout the whole year. If we have an outside light, we can't get 100% inside a greenhouse. So we also have the inside light inside the greenhouse. You don't know it as energy or joules available. And this looks quite well. But if we're going to plan our crop, we can't just use this. So for example, if we look over here where my mouse pointer is, we can see almost 1800 joules. And for example, a tomato crop or tomato plant can't handle 1800 joules and will not go well. At least that's something I know, though I don't have the greenest fingers myself. So what we can do is set a maximal usable light for that crop. So that means, for example, that the tomato plant can use 1350 joules a day. And to really accentuate that this additional energy above that 1350 can be harmful for the crop, we shade this area in general red to really show, okay, this is cumulative energy that the crop can't use, and not only not use, but even harms the plant and might result in a loss of production and harvest in the end. But this is only the first part of the story, one side of the coin. We now have the energy available. But of course, our crops also have energy requirements. And that we can highlight in purple. And what we can see over here is the purple line, the energy available graph. So from here onwards, where my mouse pointer is, we have some fruit set, and it goes up until the summer, until it reaches the red line. And then at the end, week 35, we stop with growing tomatoes and it goes down. And what we can see is there are still some gaps. So this is not an optimal plan. The purple line is not perfectly matched with the green line and the red one, but it's pretty decent. So now that we know how many tomatoes we will grow each week and how much fruit load we will have, we need to tackle another problem. And that's the red area that we have over here that we initially introduced because our tomato has enough energy, but even too much. Within ProJoules, we generally highlight coating with these black dots at the bottom. And as you have seen, the energy available is now reduced to approximately 1500 joules a day. And I say approximately, of course, we could tune it down a bit more, but commonly people use or keep some buffer above the 1350 because the outside light that we use is an average over multiple years. And let's say you have a year where you have some very bad weeks, quite cloudy, not very sunny, then you want to have some buffer for that, or at least be robust. And that's the reason why we left the gap over here. And this graph, the energy balance of the crop and plants, is the basis of ProJoules. And you will see it back in what Wim will be talking about, the different case studies for bell peppers, but also for tomatoes with and without additional lighting.
Luke, thank you very much. My name is Wim Verwingerde. We both are colleagues. Thank you for the first part explaining how ProJoules works shortly, but I will explain you some other things. What we see, and also what I saw, because my background is also crop consultancy, and we worked in the beginning with the Excel version of ProJoules, and what Luke was saying, 2 years ago, we started with, let's say, the portal. ProJoules makes growers proactive. What does it mean? In the past, growers in ProJoules, they were using Excel to do all kinds of registration, climate registration, crop registrations. What we see is at that moment, a lot of growers still are growing reactive. They see something and they do something. At the moment that you start to make a plan, you already start to think about what do I want to reach? Kilograms, pieces, stand density. You're going to optimize it, additional lighting and coating if needed. ProJoules system is using RTR, ratio, temperature, radiation, together with plant measurements and also 24-hour average. Climate data will help to make a good plan and to know what you're doing. Always what I say, people who are using ProJoules, make a realistic plan. Make it together with your grower, make it together with your consultant. Make the plan what you can say, really, I like this plan, and then you start to grow your crop. Because for ProJoules, the plant is always the middle. We, you, I, the plant, that is where we have to look at. I want to share you some information about 2 crops. We have here a sweet pepper cultivation, and later on, I will talk about the tomato crop. What we see here, I will explain it a little bit on the left. On the left, we see a fruit set and a fruit load. In yellow, light yellow, on vertical, you see the plant fruit set. In dark, we see the realized fruit set, that is in pieces per square meter. Also, we see the other line, the dark line and the dotted line. The dotted line is the plant fruit amount, the fruit load, what we need to have in a certain week per meter square. Seeing that, I want to go to the following thing. Pepper crops need to be in balance. Tomato crops also, but the problem with the pepper crop, let's say this crop was started in week 52. We are looking to get a good fruit set in that week number 3. So everything what we try to do is get a good fruit set that every stem has 1 fruit. We see also in our plan, it's predicted in week 3 to get the 7 fruits, but also what you see is at that moment, 2 weeks with no fruit set. So at the moment that you start your crop, in this particular, when we see this light, this is based on Dutch light, so long-term Dutch light. You see also when you're looking on the left, you see the fruit set in week number 3, but also what you see is the blue line, what what Luc was explaining to you. The blue line is the needed energy, the needed light. So what we need to do, the green line is light on plant level, and the blue line is the needed light also on plant level. And these two have to match. One thing important, if you don't do it, if you overload your plants too early, what do you get? You lose your growth, you go out of balance, you lose quality of your roots, and also you will get too small fruits also from that first fruit set. Second situation later in the season, around week 14, 15, we see already fruit load is 45. We are 10 fruits above, let's say, our planned amount of fruits. Also, when we see, when you're looking at the right side on the graph of the available and needed energy, you see now that the blue line is far above the green line. That means we are demanding too much light at this situation. Also, you can imagine what will happen. Fruits will be smaller, you lose your growth, and you're going out of balance. There's a third situation, and I saw that also in the past happening, that in the summertime, people feel it is summer and it will always remain summer. But we see also the light, you see it in the light graph, after, let's say, week 26, 27, we go down in light. At the moment that we keep that summer feeling, and you think the pepper plant is keeping setting, we leave it, you see the same situation happening. Too high fruit load, too high light demand, and what's happening, you lose your fruit set, and your autumn can be not as good as what you expected. So what is important? Find the right balance. So that means you have to do fruit pruning. You have to think about, what am I going to do? It's not only to be reactive, but at the moment that you are registering in ProJoules, you will see what you do, you are planning. Once per week, you are registering, and directly you can see in our beautiful dashboard that say what is happening with your crop. It helps you to balance the crop through the whole season. Tomato crop. At this moment, you see a tomato crop without additional lighting. How do we build up a tomato crop, or how do you do it? You see already in this situation, there should be a coating if possible. There's a temperature, 24-hour average. We have a CO2 level. And then you see on the right, you see the stem density, the truss development, a pruning policy, a grow period, a weight, and a light efficiency. That's what Luc said. These components will bring you the blue line, what we see there on the right. To show you that better is this. Yeah, and also I see 2 ways how growers or consultants are, let's say, predicting the crop, how they make the plan. One way is with the crop knowledge of the grower. They put in stem density, they put in the number of trusses, everything. And at that moment, they make a plan, and then they see they need the light. You see here also the calculated amount of light in week 51. The purple line is 1150 joules. Outside light at that moment is 120. Energy available. The green line means the light in the greenhouse on plant level. There's one way. This morning, I spoke to a customer of ProJoules, and he said, Wim, for me, I can't use my maximum hours of light anymore. I installed partly LED, but still I have some T. So what he is doing, he is maximizing the amount of kilowatt hour per week, what he can use. That will be another way. So then he puts his light in, and he will, let's say, he will see what is possible, the amount of, let's say, the density, how many stems per meter you can, let's say, allow. Here you see on the left, also this one is a hybrid situation, partly SON-T and partly LED. And now you see what is happening. This is the graph, what you see what's happening when you are adding the additional light to your plan. In dark, we see the added energy, 900 joules. We see still that 1350 joules was maximum usable. We see the green line now, and the green line is containing outside light on plant level, plus the amount of light we are adding with our lights. And now you see that the blue line is matching the green line till the maximum usable light in this situation of 1350 joules. If you say, listen, guys, ProJoules, I'm a better grower, I can do it with 1400 joules, it's all to you. We are supplying a perfect working system, but you can fill in all your data together. When you make a plan, you put your data in, and then at that moment you can work with it. And it's what we do. We support technical support to help you to work as good as possible with the ProJoules portal. You, your consultant, you do the same. And what we learn is you need to find the balance. Tomato crop, eggplant, cucumbers, pepper plants. What is important to get the best results in ProJoules is accurate measurements. And already we see it's for certain people a big challenge to do good registrations. You need to make a protocol, and also we are supporting growers in this kind of things to make a good protocol, to know same person is doing the registration, the way he's doing the registration, the day of the week, the time, all that kind of things make that the system will work or won't work. Because if you put in the wrong data, you never get a good result. Registrations once per week. So you make a certain day that you, and that's a fixed day in the week. Use that day to do your registration, fill it in the ProJoules portal, and see directly in the ProJoules dashboard what you are realizing. My experience, what I see is when I talk with customers, they are learning. What do they see? They see young people, they are adopting the way of growing much easier. A couple of weeks ago, I went to BC to visit a big customer, and what we saw was that young people, they understand much easier what they do in the crop, how to learn. So that's one thing. Second is you get your light balance, you get your plant balance, you get a yield prediction. All these things will help you to make a better crop. Let's say my part. If you have any question about the tomato and the pepper crop, let me know it. Luke, I give you the word again.
Yeah, so to summarize, ProJoules can be used to optimize the growth of your plants and, of course, your yield. At the same time, we allow for an unlimited amount of crops, so you can experiment with different sections in your greenhouse and see how they perform. Just create an additional crop in ProJoules and you're done. And that really helps to do an analysis. Okay, if I make certain decisions, what will the impact be? And the same holds for comparing different years. And finally, as we have reiterated, become proactive instead of reactive. With ProJoules, you plan ahead. You know ahead of time, okay, this will my stem density be, this will the number of tomatoes be, and on my truss. Instead of looking back, my plant is looking a bit weak, I need to readapt.
Yeah,
that's ProJoules.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. And if you have any questions, we are happy to answer them now. And you can type them in the chat, or you can just speak up by unmuting.
It remains very quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a question, Wim, in the chat.
Yeah, I can't read it. So.
Yeah, I will read it aloud. What's the advantage of ProJoules in comparison with Let's Grow?
For us, what we see is that, what is an advantage? I think Let's Grow can add also a lot to, let's say, our system. Well, we have that you make a plan in ProJoules. That's one, and we are looking at light levels. We're looking at plant registration, and I think there are certain other systems also can do a part of the job. I see also customers of ProJoules, they are still using Let's Grow, but they're also using our portal because they like it, the visibility of our system.
Yeah, and I think to add it, it's not you have to or Let's Grow or ProJoules. You can also combine them and use the best of both worlds. Any more questions? Oh, by the way, did that answer your question? Why Joules and not bar calculation, including HPS or LED?
Now, we didn't talk about the future things. What I see, and I really like this question, we're going to introduce also that PAR. Still, and we have customers with lightning, and still they don't have PAR measurement. They really don't know really what they do. So for me, that's also what I learned with talking with growers, customers of ProJoules. You need to go to measurement of PAR light on plant level. And let's say in a couple of months, we're also going to introduce the choice for people either to register in Joules and inside Joules or go to PAR. And yeah, again, I think it's much more important to put everywhere these measurements inside. And why, even if you use a coating, you need to know how much light is still in the greenhouse. So I hope we all go to more measurements inside. So yes, it will come.
Does that answer the question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. So the next one is till what 24-hour temperature is the model reliable? So I think, so we use RTR, ratio temperature radiation.
Yeah.
So for different varieties of plants, we have different profiles. And in these profiles, it's defined, with a certain amount of inside light at plant level, we would have an optimal temperature. So it's the own input of the profile.
Yeah. What we do is, we are introducing this already. We call it variety profiles. And in these variety profiles, we put, let's say, for tomatoes, all kinds of tomato varieties. We put it in. You can see also the light efficiency. So how many joules we need to have to make 1 gram. Also about the RTR, we're going to put it in. But again, we are not your consultant. We are not the grower. We give you our ID, also what we become from seed companies. But if you think you have to grow it with more or less 24-hour average, it's still your crop. Do we get other questions?
I don't see any others in the chat.
No. There is no last question for this moment. If not, you don't see anything happening at the moment?
No.
Okay. I hope with this small introduction of ProJoules to you, first, I want to thank you for your time.
There's a question popping up. Okay. Okay.
Fine.
Fortunately. How is crop status included? Vegetative or generative?
What you see, and I also, again, I like this question. What is, and you're asking about an advantage of the system. What we do, we're also including plant registrations in ProJoules. And why do I say it? In my opinion, and also what we see at customers, the result of a healthy and, let's say, good producing plant is a good fruit set. So we think and that's why we're also implementing plant measurements in ProJoules, that at the moment that you know how your plant behavior is, you can use that already for next season. I will explain it in little, in small. We had a grower, he's now with the second year in ProJoules. I talk regularly with him. He has an eggplant company, and he's growing them already for many years. And always we had a discussion about, let's say, the diameter of the stem. And what he sees from last year experience, this is optimum stem diameter for this crop, for this eggplant crop, must be in between 5.5 and 6 millimeters. Knowing that from last year, for him, it's clear his target will be around that amount of millimeters. So what you see, vegetative thicker stems, generative thinner stems, yes, you're going to use the generative and the vegetative parts of plants also in ProJoules.
Yeah, and I think one thing to highlight is that ProJoules is also mainly a platform for learning and knowledge transfer. So our goal is not that we register all kind of climate and plant data and then say, okay, you should do this and this to make the plant more generative or more vegetative. We will give the tools, we will give the graphs, the data, but it's up to the grower to decide and learn from it.
We are not a grower, we are not a consultant. We want to supply you with a perfect working and fast working platform, and I think that should be already a lot to help you to make better crops and make higher yields with good quality.
Okay. The next question is, it was about the 24-hour temperature.
Yeah.
And then the comment is, however, when 24-hour temperatures are given in, for example, polyhouses, you cannot always connect radiation level.
No, and I confirm that also. That's why you also need to have light measurements in these greenhouses. That we talk always, it's so easy to say we have 2000 joules. Is it with a greenhouse, glass greenhouse with 75, 78% transmission, or do I have a double polyhouse? And I agree what you say. You have to look, that's also what we learned in our team. We have to look at light inside. And I don't say forget outside light, but with additional lighting, with a coating, we have to talk on about light on plant level. So I agree what you say.
Indeed. The next one, what are the costs of ProJoules per hectare, per crop?
Yeah. Now what we do, we're not going to inform you all here in total, but what is said, what Luke said also, at the moment you can get a contract based on an annual fee. That's one thing. That's, we think, a very nice fee. And if you're interested, I think that's the main thing. How we see it is easy to put to say how much things are costing. If you're really interested to use the ProJoules tool, I think it will be relative cheap for what you get. And it's not about cheap. It's also about the value, what we can give to your company. And last thing about that, if you choose for that, you get unlimited amount of crops. So we are not talking about 3, 4, 5 crops. Recently, we decided we allow our customers to do everything what they want, also with excellent support from our side.
Yeah, and I think it's good to mention that the support is included in the annual fee.
Yes, right. Yeah, that's right.
Then next one is, how do I get the climate data on which ProJoules makes the calculation?
The climate data, when you talk about the light levels, we can deliver you your local light levels from a weather station. So if it is not available, if it is, let's say, in Kyrgyzstan, for instance, we can deliver these long-term light levels, and also they will be integrated in your system. So that's all also included if you want to have a contract with ProJoules. So it's all included. If you talk about the variety profiles, that's already in the system. And also these variety profiles will be there for cucumber crops, eggplant, sweet pepper, and tomato crops.
Yeah, and we also work together with very nice people with which from whom we can get these light levels at different locations.
Yeah.
And I think the next question couples to that. So how's the crop registration or plant measurements added to the system? Are they manually added, or is the ProJoules platform ready to incorporate other crop measurement systems or sensors? And what I can add to that, it's still manual adding, but we have added some smart inputs, or at least some very handy features. I would say that, for example, if you have a greenhouse at one location, you can just press a button and copy over the common values. So I don't suppose that within 500 meters or 1 kilometer, your outside light is going to vary like 20%. So these kind of things will automatically be copied over, whereas plant-specific data you need to add by hand. We are thinking, or now thinking about, if we would like to add automatic integration, for example, with Hoge Noorden Priva systems, but that's still in discussion and not in the pipeline yet.
And also about the question about, let's say, plant registration, is also in our to-do line, is that we're going to introduce an app that you can automatically, a very simple, with your telephone, put the numbers in, and then automatically they go in the system.
Then the next question, 24-hour temperatures from sunrise till sunrise, or start lighting till start lighting, or 0 o'clock until 0 o'clock?
No, that's also not what we say what you have to do. Normally spoken, when you talk about unlighted crops, it's let's say, sunrise till next morning sunrise. But if you say, listen, I want to do it in a different way, it's up to you. We are not going to say what you have to do. We provide you with a beautiful system, but you still take your decisions how to register.
Yeah, indeed. So, for example, the RTR or the variety profiles are tuned to a specific format, of course, but you're free to use your own. And then the next question is, sorry, maybe I missed the part. Do you focus mainly on supporting crop steering? Any results regarding the yield prediction? Do you also consider the difference between varieties, for example, tomato?
Yeah, you can do everything what you want. So it's for me not very clear what exactly the question is.
Yeah, so what we do is we support in planning your crop forward. So that's before you even start growing your crops, but also halfway the year, for example, if you have bad weather or a very good weather, you can adapt your current plan with the registrations you have up until that date or now, and adapt forwards. Yeah. So, for example, if you see, okay, I have a lot of light or not a lot of light, and we'll use more or less fruit set.
Yeah. What you can do, and maybe that's what you try to say, Luke, through the season, you can register. You register once per week. That's what I said before. And if you say, listen, I want to change my plan because I see something is happening. Also, what you can do, you can copy that current crop with this registration to, let's say, a kind of a new crop, what you can use for that new situation. But for us, if you're looking at it, again, follow the crop. That's the main thing. You made a plan, you start registering, and if you see things are happening, you can already react on what you see and not afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Combined with the forward planning that you did. And correct. That's like the main basis. Next question is, can I compare the realized RTR with the planned RTR? Not yet. Not yet. But it's in the design phase. Yes, so yeah, we are also looking forward to having that in ProJoules.
Yeah. Also think about this. We have a schedule of beautiful plans, and we're working every day to make this system better together with Ignition Computing. So updates are coming soon. So all these things will be integrated in the next versions. And also when you are customer of ProJoules, you get always the most recent updates. So there's no extra cost involved. If we change, let's say, the main framework of ProJoules, you don't get an extra bill. When you're a customer, we treat you as a real customer.
Does it answer the previous quite a few questions? I see a thumbs up, so that's already quite nice. Yeah, so I hope you really enjoyed this. And yeah, what I want to say is you can always contact us. So you can send Wim a message, wim@projules.com, or you can send me a message at luke@projules.com. Wim will be better at answering, I think, the more prop-related questions. If you have more technical or model-based questions, you can bother me. And you can always take a look at our website. And then one last question. I think what makes ProJoules unique? And I think what makes us unique is we want to empower the grower. We don't want to take the lead from them. We want to make them stronger in what they are, but also good in transferring knowledge and experience to new people. And that some people just have that tomato feeling. They know when they walk into a greenhouse, this is not going well, this is all right. And we want to capture that idea and make it available to also the next generations of growers. And at the meantime, let them learn.
One thing from my side is this. We saw it in the past already happening. People saying, is it possible to use for a certain period the ProJoules portal? We want to validate it. We have some current plans. We have still already a couple of growers already. They are using the system free of cost. And why? We think that we need to add something to your company. So hereby, we offer you a free use of the system that you can try it, that you can validate, let's say, a current crop in it, and see if the system adds something to your company. So please don't feel we are looking only to send you invoices. We want to help you. And again, for free, you can use for a certain time the system to see what it can bring to you.
So I think those were all the questions. Thanks a lot, everyone, for being here. I hope you enjoyed it. And again, feel free to send on a message if you have still some open questions. And see you around.
Okay, thank you very much.
Bye
Have
bye.
a good day. Bye. Bye-bye.